it on you.
Not far along yet.
I only made one mistake that I
made one too.
I saw that.
Like, oh, darn it. Was that mine?
Yeah.
It's like I just saw the other one, and so I put the same name again.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
But what is one to do, Mr. Chairman? Keep going. I was a bit late. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Good. Stand by You just got a cup of tea or something. Do you want?
You're my ultimate professional. Oh, I'm bored. I never made that. Here's the time. 5:30. I'm going to that first thing and maybe
Okay, welcome everybody. This is the special council meeting of Monday, December 11th. On the agenda, we have one item, supplemental information. We'll put as 5B, Carol Voigt. With that, I forgot about the territorial acknowledgement, but I just want to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Salish peoples, in particular our near neighbors, the Suffolk First Nation and the Shiano. We conduct our business on these lands, and let's be mindful of our decisions going forward. With that, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda with the supplemental information at 5B.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Schuken. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. With that, Councillor Schuken.
Mayor, thank you very much. Mayor Little, I want to, if I could, I want to take an opportunity to address a matter that arose on December 4th at the council meeting that night. When we were talking about the Colquitt's engineering report on the Centre Mountain Estates stormwater system, I made several comments that were addressed to our interim chief administrative officer. And having had a chance to review the video of that meeting, I now realize that my comments to Ms. Tarnowski were too strong and they were disrespectful. I do confess to having high expectations in terms of how the district should be engaging with the parties involved in the Centre Mountain residential project, and I have concerns about the environmental risks. Unfortunately, that concern and those expectations clearly got the better of me on Monday night. Ms. Tarnowski has indicated to me that she felt that my comments were hostile, humiliating, and disrespectful, and having watched the video again, I agree. And I do wish to apologize to Ms. Tarnowski for the nature and tone of my comments, and to this table as well for any discomfort that may have caused. So apologies again to Ms. Tarnowski.
Okay, thank you. So we have public participation next on the agenda. Does anybody wish to address council? If so, state your name and your street. Thank you.
Good evening. Carol Voigt, Gemini Drive. I am here both as a resident and as a representative of the Metchosin Pickleball Club. We have a proposal for you, and you can't resist it. It's just too good. The Metchosin Pickleball Club proposes to the District of Metchosin that we begin using the old school gym twice per week, Mondays and Tuesday mornings from 10 a.m. until noon, beginning January 8th and ending April 30th, as a gym rental pilot project. During the proposed 4-month pilot or test period, we will work collaboratively with district staff to identify and jointly resolve any issues regarding gym rental that may arise. Upon being granted access to the gym, we anticipate being accountable for unlocking and locking the facility, if that's what you require, providing all of our own equipment, paying user fees and according to your relevant fee schedule, paying monthly fees in advance, specifically honored before the 8th of January and then honored before the first day of every subsequent month. We will ensure that each participant signs a District of Metchosin liability waiver if that's deemed necessary by the district. And we're happy to sign a simple rental agreement outlining these and any other reasonable expectations. If the district is unable to invoice fees to user groups until a final fee schedule has officially been adopted and incorporated into a bylaw, we're prepared to pay fees retroactively following your new bylaw, if this would be preferred. Metchosin Pickleball Club is affiliated with Pickleball BC and with Pickleball Canada, and we have $5 million liability insurance coverage. Attached, I did send in the liability insurance coverage, and I will be sending you a new one for 2024. As a repeat rental client of community halls and gymnasia in Calgary and Metchosin for a combined total of well over 20 years, I am well positioned to act as the MPC, or Metchosin Pickleball Club liaison, and will constructively help resolve issues that may arise. Experience gained from this pilot project can be used to optimize future long-term rental arrangements and other users of the gym. In closing, Metchosin Pickleball Club is requesting access to the gym at the earliest possible date in January 2024. The gym is ready for use. It has been used. We are a responsible, self-sufficient group of adults eagerly awaiting access. Please consider this proposal granting us access beginning January 8th. Please contact me by email or by telephone if you have any questions or would like to discuss this further. And the courtesy of a reply, whether it be written or verbal, would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak at public participation?
Lisa Gee, Kangaroo Road. I just wanted to request a council again, if, as representative from the Metchosin Centre, if we can receive notice and consideration of events going on at the old school. We've made the request a couple of times, but we are still experiencing problems with parking. As another resident brought up to me, the parking lot was full on Sunday. And it was even noted that users that were staying at the event, I'm sorry, I've forgotten, the Metchosin Makers event, people that were actually like staying for the full day using the market were parking in the lot. As I've stated before, we want to be part of the community. We could even cordon off an area of the parking lot so that other people can use it, because we think that's part of the community. But it's really important that our tenants that are paying rent be able to use their own parking lot, and that was not the case on Saturday or Sunday. That parking lot was very full. So notification and some kind of assistance from council to put some kind of notice up so that people are not parking right in the front parking spots. And that would extend to notice of other things. For instance, we were not even aware that the road would be cut off on Remembrance Day. So again, I was not able to tell the tenants that the building as a whole would not be accessible for a couple of hours on Remembrance Day. So yeah, that kind of consideration would be greatly appreciated if we can move that forward, hopefully in early January. And on the side, I know nothing about it, but the pickleball sounds like a great idea. fully support that, and user fees as well, because I think as the taxpayers, we need to make sure that this building starts to pay for itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Art Brendan, 478 Chapel Heights Drive. I just have a question following up on the envisioning workshop. Will there be a follow-up in the new year for public opportunity for public participation in the visioning that was presented that day? There was a lot of different opinions given and ideas, a lot of ideas, and I just wanted to know where the planning was for the future of that. It seems like the gym has been well sorted, taken care of in the short term. I appreciate receiving the information on the fee schedule and the 4 categories, looking at it. I do have a question about the categories. I'm not going to read them, but they're there. Commercial, what is the council's definition or the district's definition of commercial? Because I don't expect an answer right now, but to me it's ambiguous in that a non-profit organization can also be run or operate and sponsor events that are commercial, have a commercial intent or marketing intent. I think that I believe it would be appropriate, it's my opinion, that a dedicated committee to consider the entire site regarding the commercial use, events, functions, sports, parking, and the naming of the site. Also, to be considered is a public arts policy from Metchosin, which I mentioned before, still to repeat myself, but I think it's related, not detached, from the overall plan and the overall side of it. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, Kiara Kahakawila, Perry Crossroad. A couple of things. Just to follow up on Art's comments in regards to the multi-use facility user fees, it would be helpful to have definitions for all 4 of those types. As Art has pointed out, you could have community groups doing something for commercial, but you could also have recreation that is also commercial because it's a personal business as well. So there's some definitions I think would help with that. In regards to pickleball, I wouldn't argue with them too much. Pickleball is synonymous with passionate, and their proposal is actually pretty good. So I'm speaking here tonight to address and thank one of the key members of the leadership team of the District of Metchosin. Sue Lynn Ternowski has held the title of Metchosin's interim CAO for over a year now, and this is likely her last council meeting in that role. She's provided exemplary service to a new council whose members consist of only one incumbent. It is no easy task to lead any new council after an election, let alone one that has very little experience. She has performed her duties in a professional and astute manner, providing guidance, leadership, and tools to allow council to move forward on their ideas and initiatives as they've embarked on your first year. 2022, in search of a new CFO, Ms. Ternowski was hired by our district's then retiring CAO. She was hired with the support of council of the day, knowing that it felt that the position of CFO and CAO could efficiently be melded into one, supporting our small and debt-free municipality. The view is not held by some of the current council, and we were told last week that a new CAO will be joining us in January. I would like to take this time to thank Sue Lynn for her professionalism, her acumen, her knowledge, and her leadership as the time that she has spent as our CAO. You will be missed in this position. I know your dedication to Metchosin and your adherence to the high standards of your profession will assist you as you continue to work in the best interest of our residents. Thank you for all you have done, all you are continuing to do, and I look forward to working with you again in the future. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'll second that.
Second poll at public participation.
Thank you, Averill, Wingfield Road. Art pretty much said what I would have liked to. The only thing I would add to that is the use of the grounds that also have become used by people who are making money. So again, the commercial and the definitions really have to be clarified. I'd love to see that. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else wish to speak? If not, we'll move on to business arising. So if you turn to page 3 of your council agenda, Councillor Epp, this is business arising from the minutes to be considered at this meeting, the Special Public Works and Protective Service Committee meeting of November 30th.
Yes, well, I'm really glad to see this, that we're finally moving forward on what's going to happen. We certainly have a long ways to go, and all the ideas that have been coming up and stuff. But this is a really great start as far as setting the top priorities. And notice we actually don't have pickleball as a top priority, but but it would be really wonderful if the group can actually get in there and start using the gym on a regular basis, because the courts are really nice. Anyway, so with that, I would like to move that council set the top 4 priorities for use of the school gym as community recreation, first responder and community emergency, and commercial, as pertaining to the gym, with appropriate changes and priority in accordance with the volume and timing of rentals with appropriate notice, and that council bring forward the declared priorities for use in terms of booking the gym to the public for their input.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Epp, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Discussion? Councillor Donaldson.
Yes, on number 3 of the 4. Just wanted to speak to number 3, where it says first responder and community emergency. I'm wondering if we just call it emergency services. That way it encompasses everything.
First responder and
Not sure why
emergency
it's
services.
separate. Yeah.
Any objection to that?
No, I think that's fine. Is that okay, Chief? Okay.
First responder and emergency services?
So just emergency services
Or
is
just
number 3.
Not first responder, just emergency
Do you
services.
have that, Ms. Hanson?
Yeah, just emergency services. Fine with the chief, fine with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, so I will take a motion on that with emergency services substitute for number 3. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. A number of the public have asked for some definitions. I will leave that to the interim chief administrator officer and the deputy corporate officer to go ahead. Councillor Gray.
Thank you. I think one thing about on the commercial side, it really is an issue of people are making business income. I think that's a measure that might work for us. I did want to make another motion, though, that the district have no further engagement with Hildebrand Consulting to facilitate planning of the school. If someone would second it, I'll talk to that.
I'll second it for discussion.
Seconded, moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Epp.
Yeah, so at our most recent budget meeting, we learned that the Hildebrand Consulting had been engaged and to work for the district through the mayor for $1,900, almost $2,000, high cost, low value item. I think the Hildebrand seemed like wonderful people, but we didn't get much done in accordance with the program, and I think we'd be better organizing ourselves a little bit differently the next time through staff.
Councillor Epp, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think staff. I know, we have had some workshops with Ms. Tarnowski, for example, where she has really run a very well organized facilitated event. And so I think that when we continue with that we could do it in-house or figure it out through council, that we have a really meaningful discussion on that. And however we're going to do it, whether we're going to just have another council meeting, or whether we're going to involve the whole community, we can decide on that.
Councillor Shukin?
I did not get a, I didn't feel like the meeting, when was it, was very effectively done. I didn't see the Hillbrands actually creating that much value. And it was, I did get some comments from a participant, and they were, challenged by the fact that the Hillbrands came with what was described as a closed list in terms of options. So I feel that there's probably better value elsewhere. I'm not sure we need a motion to that effect. I think it would be a good move to assess options. So I am prepared to support it, though, I have to say. So.
Councillor Donaldson.
Yes, when we were coming to a close from that meeting, there was a plan for doing a circle exercise. I would just like to know, through the chair to Ms. Tarnowski, do we have a contract for them to fulfill those services, or was that the final?
There was an hourly engagement, so there's no further contract or anything promised to them. They did reach out to me and ask about the next step, and what I expressed to them was council wasn't ready to take the next step, and there will be pause, so there will be no further engagement.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak to this? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, with that, turning to page 5, this is a report from our interim CAO regarding fee structure. Go ahead.
So this fee structure is put in front of council just for the sole purpose of getting the fee bylaw amended so that the community may use the gym. So the caveat, I fully cognizant and recognize that there's no definitions. I realize there are needs for that, definitions, but that will come at a later date because those definitions do not have to be included in the fees bylaw. So what does have to be included in the fees bylaw are the proposed fees. Again, the hourly rate is, I'm going to venture this to say that we maybe didn't get it right yet, but we need to start somewhere. So it just looking at some of the fees that's being charged by the school boards in the neighborhood, that seems to be a good starting point. Going forward, recognize that we more than likely will have to review and revise those fees. But this fee is really just in front of council for consideration, and then directing staff to amend the fees bylaw so that these may be included, and then we can start charging the community groups for the use of the gym. Just one note to a little bit to follow up to Ms. Boyd's question about using the gym in January. We will not have the fees, amended fees bylaw ready by then, so the earliest that that can be ready will be in February. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Schuken.
Through you, Mayor Little, a few questions to Ms. Tarnowski. So the fees themselves have been set using, I think you mentioned, reference checking school use in other schools?
Yeah, school district gym.
Okay, great. So another question, do we need to enshrine the fees in an actual bylaw?
We have a fees bylaw,
Okay.
so that includes all the fees that we are charging for
Okay.
the various services.
Okay. Well, I guess it was going through my mind as to whether we could actually do a policy that would be specific to the gym for a set period of time, and that might allow us to get the gym in active use, put some structure around it, make it, again, very specific to that site and for a time limit. Because, yeah, your point is well taken. It's going to take some time to get, even if we move expeditiously, it's going to take some time. So I wonder if a policy might get us there. And even as we move along, if we decide we wanted to modify that, it might be easier with the policy. But your point is well taken that if market rate would maybe suggest a school is a good, or a good market comparison, so.
So, excuse me, so through the chair, so my thoughts behind this, putting this fees forward is, again, recognizing that the detail in terms of priority and definition, and also really a definition within a group. So if we say recreation group, it's not just a blanket recreation group definition. We're looking at regular users, for example, pickleball, because they want to book certain days for weeks, many weeks ahead, or are we talking about drop-in? So there's also, even within one user group, there are sub-definitions as you wish as well within that group. So that all has to be flushed out. But really at this point, just going forward, that getting the gym generating some revenue. So it's really enshrining this in the bylaw itself so that it's ready to go. It's in the bylaw. We are authorized to set those fees and charge those fees. But also recognizing that, just going back to the fees bylaw, there will be many, many changes, not just related to gym use, but also the building permit fees that we're considering. So all those have to be included in the fees bylaw. So you will be seeing the fees bylaw in front of you many, many times. While we have this bylaw in the the fees in the bylaw, we will continue working on the policy and the just nitty-gritty of the logistics of how to do the process. But just really right off the bat, just getting the fees in the bylaws so that the community can access and use the gym.
Okay, Councillor Knapp.
Through you, Mr. Arnowski. So the way we would do it then is we pass this as the bylaw, and then we can set policies as far as the individual, what is recreation, what are users after that. Okay. All right, well, in that case then, I will move the council receives the report for information and discussion, and council directs staff to amend the fees bylaw 2008 to include the community multi-use space gymnasium fees.
This is a motion put forward by Councillor Epp, seconded by Councillor Gray. Do you wish to speak to Councillor Epp further?
No, thanks, just what I said before.
Okay, Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions through you, Mayor Little, to Ms. Chernowski. The damage deposit would include cleanup, presumably, if cleanup was required. And I was curious about the training center having no charges, or the first response and emergency, what we'll call emergency groups, or what do we call it? Emergency services. Now, I had understood that sometimes the district can earn money through training. And so would that not come through charges this way, but come through arrangements through the fire department, I expect, like regional training, that sort of thing? So we provide it free of charge to the district, the fire department, but then there'll be fees charged to others who attend. Great, thank you. Then my third question would be, can we make an exception then to the bylaw question to get the pickleball people going in January?
I don't see a need so in terms of making exception to the bylaw, not putting it in the bylaw.
We don't have the bylaw passed yet. Just how soon could they start? It doesn't seem unreasonable that they begin. That's really my question. Or is it just the law as being a bylaw?
It doesn't seem unreasonable, but the direction from staff is that we pass this tonight and then move on with the bylaw, and I would prefer to do it as recommended by staff.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Go ahead, Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to number 3, emergency services. And just for a point of clarity, I think of what my colleague here is saying, Councillor Gray, regarding fees. Right now, we've got 0 fees in this particular category. And I brought this up some time ago about revenue generating, and I do understand that when candidates do come to the training courses, they do pay a fee. And the rental of the rooms through Instinct would be paid for in that regard. This is a gymnasium, it's different again, and I would like to see that there's a fee charge here, not 0, so that it's revenue generating, and somebody needs to, the taxpayer is actually paying for this gymnasium. So again, we're here tonight to talk about revenue generating for the school site and a starting place, so I'd like to see those zeros changed to actual numbers.
Yeah. Okay, and so you're talking about charging the fire department?
I'm talking about the emergency services category.
Yeah, and so emergency services would include the fire department, so you'd be in favor of charging the fire department?
It could. we already pay for the training, so how the paperwork is done on that is left to staff, not to myself, so I would leave that to the people in charge of that, which would be our staff.
Okay, Councillor Epp.
On that point, I think, there maybe needs to be an extra category there, one for our fire department of things that Metchosin is actually putting on, which should definitely be free, or when an external group comes in, such as say the RCMP that wants to use it for a weekend or a week or whatever for your own use. Now that's a different thing, and they should be paying for it. But I think the programs and training exercises that our own fire department puts on should be free.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead. Anybody else wish to speak? If not, I'll give Councillor Donaldson an extra chance. Go ahead, Councillor Donaldson.
Okay, so for clarity, you're saying our particular firefighters for free, but what about the other candidates that are in the same classes? Are they for free or are they paying? Because honestly, if it's a training exercise of any sort where there's education, people pay for an education, they pay for the booking, not everything can be for free. I'm not sure how much the taxpayers should be picking up on that.
Do you think we could get some clarification from Chief Dunlop on that one?
Fire Chief Dunlop, do you think you could help clarify situations?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So I agree, both parties. I do, respectfully, I'd love for the fire department to be able to utilize the gym when we need to free of charge. When we do large, and we'll call Justice Institute type courses, so larger multi-jurisdictional type training, we can be charged the rental, and then that gets billed back to all the attendees. If we do have a Metchosin resident or a Metchosin firefighter that's on the course, that simply gets invoiced just like all the other people do, and it just goes in. It's kind of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, but at least it gets documented, that piece, right? So it just gets spread out between all the participants. However, if we have, for example, our new recruits, and we're doing it just our recruits and maybe a couple from ESUC and SUC as our mutual aid partners, then I would ask that we could have it free of charge.
Councillor Gray.
I wonder if this might be resolved through the definitions. So commercial rent would be something going to like the Justice Institute, whereas the emergency services is our emergency services.
Maybe. Councillor Shuka.
Through you, Mayor Little. Chief, how often do the RCMP rent the school? Is it a common thing, an uncommon thing, or not rent? They utilize the school, but they don't pay at this.
They rent space from Instinct,
Okay.
the classroom space. They haven't been there for a while. I think they just did a little bit. They worked down at Albert Head, and then they used the classroom space here. And I think they rented some space from Instinct here recently. The Coast Guard also utilized this space. So there are outside agencies that do utilize. They're all considered emergency services. So I do think that they could be charged a fee for sure to use that space. They're a commercial user. So I appreciate there is a big difference between obviously the local fire department versus outside agencies.
Okay, so perhaps we change the definition or the heading in number 3 to Metchosin Fire Department. And then all others would be commercial. Go ahead.
Sorry. Could we say Metchosin Fire Department and Emergency Operations Center, like all emergency responders, local, or something along those lines, or if that's the intent of the discussion?
I'll move that as an amendment.
Motion as an amendment to number 3 to Metchosin Fire Department and
Emergency
operations operations or services.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Epp. Discussion, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to change the name, but we could definitely have two different tiers. So leaving it as emergency services, and then when you do the definition, you have the definition of what those two different fee categories would be.
Okay,
And staff can certainly sort that out, I think.
okay.
Yeah.
That's good, good idea.
Can I just get clarity then? So is the council's desire to have no charge for the chosen fire department and emergency services, and everybody else pays?
Mhm.
Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, so anybody else wish to speak? Go ahead.
Yes, well, I take the, sort of an alternative point of view to my colleague, Councillor Donaldson. Just the way it's set up right now, it seems to me that commercial users are, and businesses and the RCMP and the Coast Guard, they all fit into, it would, from my perspective, fit into that category. What we're trying to do is separate out Metchosen's own fire department, Metchosen's own emergency services. So that's why I made the motion that I did.
Mhm. Anybody else wish to speak to this? Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a broader question though, but have we, and I'm sorry, I've lost track of where we're at with this motion. We're still discussing.
Yeah, we're still discussing.
Okay, I'll ask this after the
Mhm.
motion, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead.
I think it can just be Metchosen Emergency Services and non-Metchosen Emergency Services.
Okay.
And through the chair, what would the fees be then for the non-emergency services? The same as commercial or different?
I suspect that'd be the same as commercial.
Yeah. I think probably.
Anybody else wish to speak to this? It does seem clear to have the emergency services in one, all of them, and then differentiate between the different groups because somebody may interpret themselves as coming under the auspices of the Metchosen Fire Department. So, minor point, but important. Anybody else wish to speak to this? Okay. On the motion to change this to Metchosen Fire Department and Emergency Operations. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Okay, that's carried. Anything else on this? So we've got, did we vote on the main motion? I think we did. Did we? Let's vote again.
We just
Okay,
voted
so
on the amendment.
The main motion was what Councillor Epp had put forward, that council receive the report for information and discussion and direct staff to amend the fees bylaw 2008 to include the community multi-use space gymnasium fees. That was moved by Councillor Epp, seconded by Councillor Gray. Anybody else wish to speak to it?
Councillor Shuka maybe have a point?
Um,
Broader point?
No, we can do that after the vote, but
Okay. Yeah,
It would just be as amended.
as amended, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Shuken.
so thank you. Just a point of question or point of information through you, Mary Lou. So Ms. Tarnowski, will the definitions and some of the other, the mechanics of getting this down, that will be incorporated in a policy?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thanks all. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to, you were talking finance and budget numbers and stuff like that, and I thought it might be worth just pausing for a minute to think about our budget meeting last week and where we're headed. We started with a 14% tax increase. This is going to help some of that, I hope. Almost $500,000 increase in our budget. A big chunk related decisions made last year, so no surprises there, but we spent 2 hours on it last week, and I think we knocked off $20,000. I don't know what our target is in terms of percentage increases, but if we wanted to drop it down to single digits, that would mean cutting from the budget we looked at last week $175,000 to $200,000 off. So it's a pretty big task in front of us. By rough calculations, if we did about what the productivity of our last meeting, that would need mean that we would need about 25 meetings to get to to a single digit. So I just wanted to propose sort of a radically different approach or something done by other municipalities, and what I think our CFO has recommended. We kind of missed our strategic planning this year because we were doing other work, I guess, around facilitator, trying to figure that out. But if over the holidays each of us put together our priorities, like looked at the budget material, put together our priorities, and add anything that's missing, I'm thinking of the buffer land, for example, got those ready for the CFO for early January, say January 2nd or something like that. You could put them all in and have a little bit of a process to figure out what are our priorities. And if we rank them then, we'd have our top priorities and our bottom priorities, and we could start knocking off the bottom ones fairly quickly to get to a number that we were satisfied with. I don't know what our target would be, but we might also think about that over the holidays. What's our target? Is it single digit 9%, or do people want to go lower, or are they happy being up in the teens? I just think it would behooves us. Things will get cut up very quickly in the new year, so if we could get to a little bit of time on the holidays, if each of us could spend some time thinking about our own priorities and mush them together, then we could talk about them and, as I say, then knock off the bottom ones fairly quickly. There were some things we talked about the other day, for example, in that meeting, and I thought, boy, they're probably going to get knocked off right away. We spent a couple hours on them, but they're not like the priorities, some other big ones that we're facing. So just an idea to, I don't have a motion for it, I would just like us to consider that as a
Okay, Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, those are good points. It's too bad you didn't bring them up when I asked for it, but last week that would have really helped.
I went home and thought about it.
For second thought.
Okay, so with that, let's move on in the agenda to correspondence for information. So on the Chosen School site, we have information from Ernie Chang. Really interesting email regarding the Chosen Natural History Clubhouse. I think this really has merit and could bring in some people from our community that we haven't seen or heard from before. I think it's a brilliant idea and something to keep live in our documents and for us not to forget. Did anybody else wish to speak to the Metchosin Natural History Clubhouse idea? Councillor Gray.
Yeah, like you, Mayor Little, I think it's a pretty cool idea. I'm not totally clear on what rooms are available in the school, but I would hope we would bring this forward when we have our next discussion. I think it's a nice, would be a nice addition. Probably the walk and talk folks, the biodiversity group would be interested in taking a look at it too. So I might suggest that to Dr. Chang, that you have a word with them in the meantime.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. And as we get more familiar as to what is available and what is not available through the whole building, that would be helpful. Also, we didn't really address what a fee structure would be for the field, but I'm certain that we shouldn't lose sight of that either. Just there might be another car show, there might be dog agility competition going on. There's lots of different uses of the whole property that we still need to discuss.
Absolutely. Anybody else wish to address this report for information? So I'll take a motion to receive for information. Moved by Councillor Berry, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have a letter from Hope Roberts regarding the Metchosin school site green space to leave it as is without barriers. Anybody wish to speak to this? If not, I'll take a motion to proceed for information. Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Or you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think it's a valid point being raised here by Hope Roberts, and again, something to consider when we get together again as we talk about the entire property.
Councillor Schubert.
I'm sorry, on a matter unrelated, just once we...
Let's vote, and then you, okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Little. I just wanted to reconnect with the points that Lisa Gay made earlier about notification to Metchosin Center businesses. And we've heard this a few times now, and I'm struggling to understand how to bake it into the system. And you know, even some of the planning that went into Machosen Day, I was with one of the organizers, and she basically did a fist to the head and said, "Oh, I forgot to notify this particular group." Now, it wasn't the Machosen Center folks, but it'd be interesting to find a way of getting, like, whether it's a checklist or, I don't know, the development of a calendar or something. One thing I will endeavor to do is to raise this with the Machosen Grounds Group when we're next together, and I believe that'll be sometime in January as well. So, okay, just wanted to note that.
Yeah, we could also put forth a motion this evening to direct staff to make sure they're notified. But we also need to do something about signage as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have spoken about this before, starting out with Safe Passage well over a decade ago, and in my past career involved with event planning, there is a checkoff list, and communication would be one, advertising well in advance, there's different steps and stages, parking plans, which clearly this weekend there was no parking plan because now we've got a mud bowl out front here, and we've never had that before. That could easily have been just cordoned off with tape or whatever. So certainly these are things that we're going to have to learn from, hopefully not by this big mistake, but communication, listening to the business community and the residents that this is going to directly affect. So communication is key, and event plan is where we need to start. I have submitted one in the past, so there's lots of examples of those in the world that we could use for sure. Customized for us.
Councillor Epp?
I do think that in the future, as we are planning to, winds up managing the facility, we'll have there'll be an online calendar. So it'll be available, we'll have everything that's going on, hopefully, and that everybody in the community can check on that calendar just to see the events that are going to be coming up.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. One could argue, though, that it would be incumbent upon the district to inform the Machosen Business Center, since many of our community members will be using their lot, rather than have them put a gate up so that nobody would be able to use that facility during community events. I'd rather see us engage them with some kind of a communication strategy and plan to notify them that something is happening. Councillor Gray?
And I support the idea of a calendar. I think that would be a big help. The other thing just to note is that often I think this weekend was an example, the Machosen Halls parking lot was not in use. And so had that been coordinated, people could have been sending people over to the Machosen Hall to use that parking lot. It looks relatively small, but it takes a lot of cars in there. And just a simple phone call could find out. I mean, if there's a wedding on, it's a bit more difficult, or a funeral, but lots of times it is available during these kinds of events.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak to this more? Did you want a motion to direct staff or not?
I think, yeah.
We need to do something about the signage as well. It would be great to have some signage available for the business site so that they could put it up on that day. This is preserved, and that would mean that the other part of their lot would be graciously given to the community for that day. Okay, and then 5B, we have Carol Boyd's letter regarding the pickleball request, as well as a certificate of insurance. Councillor Gray.
So I just wanted to come back to this. Is there anything that we can do before the bylaws passed?
I do want to recommend that we do anything until the bylaws pass for the fees.
Thank you.
I realize that that's not the answer that Ms. Boyd wants to hear, but it's probably just best that we go forward with specifying our authority to collect the fees in the bylaws, and I'll go.
Okay, with that, I'll accept a motion to receive for information Motion by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, and with that, I'd like a motion to close the meeting to the public, and that the meeting be closed to the public under Section 91A of the Community Charter as it pertains to personal information. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we